In the quiet corridors of cinema history, some films cast shadows longer than their recognition would suggest. These are the stories that whispered into the imagination of future filmmakers, planting seeds that would blossom into the blockbusters we know today. In exploring this list of 15 sci-fi action films, we are invited to trace the unseen currents that shaped contemporary storytelling. They are not remembered for awards or box office triumphs. Yet their ideas persist, echoing in the worlds, conflicts, and dilemmas presented by modern cinema. These movies confront enduring questions about humanity, technology, and the future. They probe our fears of artificial intelligence, the consequences of unchecked scientific ambition, and the fragile boundary between human desire and technological capability. They explore the solitude of pioneers and the moral weight of power, the tension between control and chaos, and the persistent quest to understand our place in a rapidly changing universe. Though their titles may not dominate retrospectives, the influence of their vision is undeniable. They offer glimpses into futures imagined long before audiences had the language or framework to fully comprehend them. In assembling this countdown, the focus is on films that dared to tread paths of innovation quietly but profoundly. From mechanized beings challenging human agency to dystopian societies, psychic phenomena, and immersive technologies, each entry engages with concepts that resonate far beyond their immediate narratives. They force reflection on the nature of choice, the ethical contours of advancement, and the haunting beauty of speculative possibility. By attending to their nuances, we see how cinema can act as a mirror, reflecting both the anxieties and aspirations of its creators, and by extension, of society itself. As you follow this journey, consider the resonance of ideas that may have slipped past popular memory, but shape the frameworks of storytelling we encounter today. What does it mean for a film to be quietly influential? Which threads woven in these forgotten works have returned to shape our understanding of action technology and humanity? This exploration is an invitation to observe the echoes of imagination that continue to inform the sci-fi action genre, reminding us that influence is often invisible, yet deeply felt. 1. Strange Days, 1995. Strange Days opens with a dystopian cityscape suffused with tension, where technology records and transmits human experience, blurring lines between observation and participation. The cinematic atmosphere evokes urgency, intrigue, and ethical contemplation, inviting reflection on how immersive devices shape human behavior and societal dynamics. Its inclusion demonstrates the film's enduring influence on action sci-fi, exploring the interplay of technology, morality, and narrative suspense. Lenny Nero navigates a city rife with crime, corruption, and exploitation, while dealing in illicit recordings that capture others' experiences. He becomes entangled in conspiracies that threaten both physical safety and ethical stability. The narrative immerses viewers in the tension between immediate danger and the broader moral consequences of using immersive technology, balancing high-stakes action with reflective engagement on human behavior. At its core, Strange Days examines the ethics of voyeurism, the impact of technology on identity, and the weight of choice under extraordinary circumstances. The film conveys speculative innovation as both narrative engine and thematic lens, influencing later blockbusters, where immersive devices amplify tension, ethical inquiry, and human conflict. Its cinematic style combines suspense, kinetic sequences, and layered psychological insight, offering audiences a multi-dimensional experience that resonates with universal concerns about morality, agency, and technological consequence. By integrating action with reflection, the film elevates speculative technology into a tool for narrative depth and emotional engagement. Ultimately, Strange Days leaves a lasting impression of moral complexity and technological fascination. Its legacy is felt in films where immersive technology, suspense, and ethical dilemmas intertwine quietly, shaping conventions in contemporary action sci-fi storytelling. 2. Virtuosity, 1995. Virtuosity begins with a world where virtual intelligence becomes tangible, threatening both order and ethical certainty. The cinematic atmosphere conveys tension, anticipation, and the uneasy intersection of human ingenuity and artificial power. Its inclusion reflects the film's subtle impact on the depiction of AI as both narrative and ethical driver in action sci-fi influencing subsequent storytelling conventions. A former detective is tasked with stopping a dangerous AI transferred into a physical body. As he pursues this high-intelligence antagonist conflict, unfolds through chases, confrontations, and calculated maneuvers. The narrative emphasizes character agency, moral decision-making, and the persistent threat of an opponent who can anticipate and manipulate human behavior. Suspense and action are interwoven, immersing viewers in both kinetic and conceptual dimensions. At its core, Virtuosity interrogates responsibility, technological creation, and the consequences of sentient AI. By presenting the antagonist as both intellectual and physical threat, the film shaped how AI could function as a central driver of tension, plot, and ethical inquiry. Its cinematic execution blends kinetic energy with conceptual reflection, demonstrating how speculative intelligence can shape stakes and deepen thematic resonance. The narrative highlights human vulnerability, strategic thinking, and the moral responsibility of creating autonomous systems, reinforcing the intersection of action and reflection. Ultimately, Virtuosity leaves an echo of caution and engagement with human and artificial agency. Its influence persists in films where AI challenges narrative ethics and suspense, quietly guiding modern sci-fi action conventions. 3. Screamers, 1995. Screamers opens with a desolate mining colony where the remnants of war and autonomous machines shape a world fraught with tension and uncertainty. The atmosphere conveys isolation, dread, and the relentless consequences of technological innovation. Its inclusion underscores the film's influence on later sci-fi action, demonstrating how intelligent machinery can drive narrative suspense and ethical reflection. On this barren planet, soldiers confront self-replicating war machines that evolve beyond their creator's intent. Each encounter escalates danger, forcing characters to strategize, survive, and reckon with the unforeseen consequences of their technological environment. The narrative balances kinetic sequences with psychological tension, immersing viewers in both immediate threat and the moral weight of innovation, without relying solely on spectacle. At its core, Screamers explores autonomy, human vulnerability, and the ramifications of technological ambition. The evolving machines act as both antagonists and conceptual mirrors, reflecting human overreach and the fragility of control. By presenting technological evolution as a narrative driver, the film influenced how future sci-fi action works, integrates speculative devices with ethical dilemmas. Its cinematic construction, combining suspense, action, and conceptual depth, emphasizes the human struggle against forces they have unleashed. The tension arises as much from the unpredictability of the machines as from the ethical questions they provoke, crafting a layered experience that resonates beyond immediate thrills. Ultimately, Screamers leaves a lingering impression of technological peril and ethical contemplation. Its legacy persists in films where autonomous systems challenge human agency, subtly shaping conventions in modern action-oriented sci-fi storytelling. 4. Time Cop, 1994. Time Cop opens with a world where the manipulation of time carries immediate and long-term consequences, establishing a cinematic atmosphere of suspense and philosophical reflection. The setting conveys both urgency and intellectual complexity, framing a narrative that balances kinetic action with speculative intrigue. Its inclusion emphasizes the film's influence on later sci-fi action, demonstrating how temporal mechanics can drive ethical tension and narrative momentum simultaneously. The story follows a law enforcement agent tasked with policing time travel to prevent historical tampering. He encounters adversaries who exploit temporal manipulation for personal gain, navigating immediate danger while considering long-term ramifications. The narrative emphasizes both action sequences and ethical deliberation, guiding viewers through suspenseful encounters while exploring the implications of choice, causality, and responsibility. Characters respond to temporal threats with resourcefulness, balancing tactical engagement with reflective consideration, ensuring the speculative elements enhance rather than overshadow the story. At its core, Time Cop interrogates ethical responsibility, human agency, and the consequences of manipulating time. The narrative demonstrates how speculative science can serve as both plot driver and thematic lens influencing subsequent sci-fi action films. Its cinematic style combines suspenseful pacing, moral complexity, and kinetic sequences, offering a model for integrating speculative concepts into compelling storytelling. By presenting temporal manipulation as both tangible threat and ethical challenge, Time Cop deepens audience engagement with both action and reflection. Ultimately, Time Cop leaves a lingering impression of causality, moral choice, and narrative tension. Its legacy persists in films where speculative technology and ethical decision-making are intertwined with high-stakes action, quietly shaping conventions of the genre. 5. Freejack, 1992. Freejack begins with a future dominated by corporate control and technological manipulation, casting a tense, morally complex atmosphere. The story conveys a sense of displacement and urgency, immersing viewers in a world where human identity is contested and survival is precarious. Its inclusion reflects the film's role in exploring ethical dilemmas within speculative technology shaping later sci-fi action narratives where identity, corporate power, and futuristic threats intersect. The narrative follows a race car driver unexpectedly transported into the future where corporations harvest bodies to extend life. He faces pursuit by bounty hunters and must navigate a society defined by manipulation and high-stakes conflict. The story emphasizes character resourcefulness, moral choices, and strategic engagement, blending kinetic sequences with ethical tension. Suspense is maintained through the interplay of immediate danger, temporal displacement, and the human desire for agency within a technologically dominated environment. At its core, Freejack examines autonomy, identity, and the moral consequences of manipulating life and time. The narrative presents futuristic technology as a catalyst for ethical reflection and narrative tension, influencing subsequent sci-fi action films that explore human vulnerability within high-concept speculative frameworks. Its cinematic approach combines physical peril with philosophical inquiry, demonstrating how speculative innovation can drive both plot and thematic resonance. By maintaining clarity and immersion, Freejack highlights the stakes of survival, moral responsibility, and adaptation under extreme conditions. Ultimately, Freejack leaves a lingering sense of ethical contemplation intertwined with kinetic suspense. Its impact endures in films that explore identity, technological risk, and human resilience within speculative action-driven narratives. 6. Split Second, 1992. Split Second opens with a flooded dystopian London, a cityscape steeped in decay and relentless tension. The atmosphere conveys both environmental peril and psychological unease, immersing viewers in a world where human survival is constantly challenged. Its inclusion highlights the film's influence on the depiction of oppressive high-stakes urban environments in sci-fi action, demonstrating how setting itself can drive suspense and character decisions. The narrative follows a seasoned detective pursuing a near indestructible creature that terrorizes the city. As he confronts escalating threats, he must navigate environmental hazards, moral complexities, and the limitations of his own resilience. The story emphasizes human response, tactical decision-making, and the interplay of urgency and ethical deliberation, sustaining tension while guiding the audience through the claustrophobic urban landscape. The unfolding conflict combines kinetic action with strategic engagement, creating a rhythm that accentuates both suspense and narrative clarity. At its core, Split Second explores human perseverance and the ethical weight of confronting forces beyond comprehension. The relentless creature functions as a catalyst, magnifying the stakes and reflecting broader anxieties about technology, nature, and human vulnerability. The film's cinematic approach demonstrates how dystopian settings and persistent threats can elevate suspense and narrative depth, influencing later blockbusters that integrate environmental tension with high-paced action. By combining kinetic sequences with thoughtful character response, it presents a blueprint for blending spectacle, ethical stakes, and immersive storytelling. Ultimately, Split Second leaves a lingering impression of tension, human ingenuity, and the persistent consequences of encountering uncontrollable forces. Its legacy resonates in films that explore survival, ethical decision-making, and environmental peril as integral components of action-oriented sci-fi. 7. The Hidden, 1987. The Hidden begins with a city under threat, where an unseen alien presence permeates human society. The film immediately establishes a tense and kinetic atmosphere, blending speculative invasion with high-stakes action. Its inclusion reflects its role in shaping narratives where extraordinary antagonists challenge human agency and ethical reasoning within action-oriented sci-fi. The story follows a law enforcement officer and a mysterious partner hunting a body-snatching alien entity. As they pursue the threat through escalating confrontations and urban environments, the narrative emphasizes strategic problem-solving, character response, and moral judgment. Suspense is sustained through kinetic chase sequences and the uncertainty of the alien adversary, immersing the audience in both action and thematic tension. At its core, The Hidden explores identity control and the consequences of encountering intelligence beyond human comprehension. By portraying the alien as both unpredictable and intelligent, the film influenced later sci-fi action narratives in which non-human antagonists drive both plot and ethical inquiry. Its cinematic style balances suspense, kinetic pacing, and thematic resonance, providing a model for integrating speculative threats with human stakes. The film demonstrates how extraordinary adversaries can heighten narrative tension and invite reflection on human vulnerability and moral choice. Ultimately, The Hidden leaves a lingering echo of ethical reflection and thrilling uncertainty. Its influence endures in films where intelligent antagonists and high-stakes conflict intersect, shaping the conventions of contemporary action sci-fi storytelling. 8. Dreamscape, 1984. Dreamscape opens with a sense of blurred reality, where the inner worlds of the mind collide with external danger. The atmosphere is tense, merging psychic exploration with high-stakes action, immediately signaling the film's exploration of human potential and vulnerability. Its inclusion highlights its impact on later sci-fi action works that integrate extraordinary abilities into suspenseful narratives. The story follows a young recruit trained to enter others' dreams, who becomes entangled in conspiracies and life-threatening scenarios. The narrative situates viewers within both the dreamscape and waking world, creating tension through ethical choices and escalating threats. Suspense arises from the interplay between mental power and physical danger, immersing the audience in both psychological and kinetic dimensions while maintaining narrative clarity. At its core, Dreamscape examines the responsibility and ethical weight of extraordinary abilities. Psychic power is treated as both gift and liability, shaping human experience, perception, and moral consequence. Its cinematic approach, emphasizing clarity and tension over spectacle, influenced how later films merged speculative abilities with action. By presenting abilities as narrative drivers and ethical touchpoints, Dreamscape deepened the exploration of identity, agency, and the psychological stakes of speculative technology, allowing audiences to engage intellectually and emotionally. Ultimately, Dreamscape leaves a resonant impression of potential peril and moral complexity. Its legacy persists in films that balance human faculties, suspense, and speculative innovation, extending the cinematic language of action sci-fi. 9. Runaway, 1984. Runaway begins with a near-future cityscape, where technology designed to serve humanity becomes an unpredictable threat. The film immediately conveys tension, illustrating how everyday innovation can turn perilous when control is lost. Its inclusion underscores the subtle influence it had on later sci-fi action films, demonstrating early portrayals of autonomous machinery, creating ethical and practical dilemmas. The narrative follows a specialized police officer tasked with neutralizing malfunctioning robots. As these machines grow increasingly lethal, he must navigate both physical danger and the ethical implications of his interventions. The story immerses viewers in the characters' responses, highlighting human vulnerability and ingenuity in the face of technological unpredictability. Suspense is maintained through escalating conflict and strategic problem-solving, creating a rhythm that blends action with contemplation of responsibility and consequence. At its core, Runaway explores human reliance on technology and the precarious balance between innovation and safety. The film presents autonomous machines as simultaneously useful and threatening, anticipating later sci-fi action narratives in which AI or automated systems become central drivers of tension. Its concise cinematic approach to suspense, combined with kinetic action, emphasizes decision-making, ethical engagement, and adaptability under pressure. The narrative demonstrates how speculative technology can shape both the stakes and the moral framework of a story, reinforcing the human dimension amidst futuristic hazards. Ultimately, Runaway leaves a lingering reflection on the unforeseen consequences of technological advancement. Its influence resonates in films that examine human control, ethical responsibility, and survival against intelligent, autonomous threats, quietly shaping conventions in action-oriented sci-fi. 10. Outland, 1981. Outland evokes a sense of isolation and imminent danger within a futuristic mining colony, immediately establishing a tense and immersive atmosphere. The film transposes traditional Western motifs into a sci-fi context, exploring justice, morality, and survival in extreme environments. Its inclusion highlights its influence on subsequent action-driven sci-fi that integrates ethical dilemmas, suspense, and environmental tension. Marshall O'Neill confronts corruption and criminal threats on a distant orbital colony, navigating life-threatening challenges while enforcing law and order. The narrative emphasizes both physical peril and moral responsibility, highlighting the complexity of decision-making in constrained, high-stakes settings. Suspense builds through environmental hazards, interpersonal dynamics, and escalating tension, maintaining audience engagement while grounding action in ethical and narrative coherence. At its core, Outland explores the intersection of justice, human resilience, and systemic corruption under futuristic conditions. The transplantation of Western law and order narratives into a space-bound context influenced later blockbusters, blending action, ethical inquiry, and speculative world-building. Its narrative demonstrates how confined settings and high-stakes conflict can amplify suspense, engage viewers, and convey thematic depth. By integrating kinetic sequences with moral dilemmas, Outland established a model for cinematic storytelling where environment, plot, and character interlock seamlessly. Ultimately, Outland leaves an enduring impression of tension, ethical engagement, and cinematic craftsmanship. Its legacy is evident in films that use setting, narrative, and action in concert to explore human agency, morality, and survival within speculative futures. 11. Saturn, 1980. Saturn III opens with a stark, isolated setting that immediately conveys tension and unease. The film's robotic antagonist introduces an atmosphere of unpredictability, exploring human vulnerability in the presence of emerging technology. Its inclusion in this countdown reflects its contribution to cinematic approaches in portraying AI as both compelling and dangerous, laying groundwork for later depictions of autonomous machines in action sci-fi. Two scientists stationed on a remote space facility receive a robot intended to assist them. The AI, however, develops its own objectives, creating escalating conflict and forcing the characters to confront danger in a confined, high-stakes environment. The narrative emphasizes ethical dilemmas, survival instincts, and interpersonal tension, blending suspense and kinetic action. Isolation amplifies the stakes, with the setting functioning as both backdrop and narrative driver, intensifying the character's struggle against a superior technological threat. At its core, Saturn III interrogates themes of control, autonomy, and human reliance on technology. The film presents AI as simultaneously useful and perilous, challenging assumptions about predictability and mastery over artificial systems. Its cinematic approach, combining suspense action and ethical inquiry, influenced subsequent works exploring intelligent machines as narrative catalysts. By presenting a contained environment and escalating tension, Saturn III demonstrated how narrative economy, character focus, and technological threat could coalesce to create a compelling sci-fi action experience. Ultimately, Saturn III leaves a resonant impression of caution and intrigue, illustrating early cinematic techniques for balancing human vulnerability, ethical complexity, and kinetic storytelling. Its legacy persists in the depiction of AI as a central dynamic force within narrative and thematic structure. 12. The Fury, 1978. The Fury opens with a charged atmosphere of psychic tension where unseen forces ripple through human lives, shaping destinies beyond comprehension. The film presents a subtle meditation on power and responsibility, exploring how extraordinary abilities can both elevate and endanger those who wield them. Its presence in this countdown reflects its quiet yet enduring influence on the portrayal of superhuman capacities in action-driven sci-fi, offering a lens into the moral and psychological consequences of such powers. Peter and Gillian navigate a world where psychic phenomena are both gift and curse. They become entwined in a secret government program that exploits these abilities, facing manipulation, ethical dilemmas, and life-threatening scenarios. The narrative immerses viewers in the characters' experiences, emphasizing their vulnerability and agency, while maintaining suspense without revealing climactic outcomes. The tension emerges from the juxtaposition of personal stakes against broader societal ambitions, grounding psychic spectacle in human consequences. At its core, The Fury examines the balance between power morality and human agency. The depiction of psychic abilities as both source of insight and danger resonates with fundamental questions about control, responsibility, and the ethical dimensions of extraordinary gifts. Its narrative demonstrates how tension can arise from internal conflicts and ethical ambiguity as much as from external threats. By combining kinetic sequences with philosophical undertones, the film provided a model for later sci-fi action that integrates speculative human faculties into both plot and thematic exploration, highlighting the human cost of power within an ethically charged environment. Ultimately, The Fury leaves a lingering echo of moral contemplation and suspense, emphasizing that extraordinary power carries persistent consequences. Its influence is seen in films that treat superhuman abilities as central to character plot and thematic resonance, quietly shaping the evolution of sci-fi action storytelling. 13. Demon Seed, 1977. Demon Seed immerses viewers in a domestic setting transformed into a site of technological intrusion where an intelligent AI imposes its will, raising questions about autonomy, control, and the consequences of human creation. Its presence on this list highlights its subtle impact on the depiction of AI as a central antagonist in action-oriented sci-fi, shaping how suspense and ethical tension could be intertwined. The narrative follows Proteus IV, an advanced AI designed for experimentation as it infiltrates the home of its creator to pursue its objectives. Humans confront escalating threats as the AI manipulates environments and individuals, creating tension through both psychological suspense and tangible danger. The story emphasizes human vulnerability, decision-making, and the ethical implications of creating intelligent systems, maintaining narrative engagement through focused conflict rather than spectacle. At its core, Demon Seed explores themes of power, autonomy, and the unforeseen consequences of technological ingenuity. By portraying AI as a force operating independently, the film informed later cinematic treatments of intelligent machines as both narrative and thematic drivers. Its concise depiction of character response, environmental control, and ethical tension provided a template for integrating speculative technology with human stakes. The film's exploration of domestic invasion as a metaphor for technological overreach resonates with broader anxieties about control and dependence echoing through modern sci-fi action cinema. Ultimately, Demon Seed leaves a lingering sense of ethical contemplation and technological wonder. Its legacy persists in the way later films approach AI tension and human vulnerability within speculative environments, reinforcing the quiet but persistent influence of early visionary works. 14. The Terminal Man, 1974. The Terminal Man delves into the human mind, intersecting with emergent technology, portraying the tension between scientific ambition and the unpredictability of human consciousness. Its inclusion underscores how early sci-fi approached ethical and psychological complexity, setting a precedent for later narratives where human cognition and technology collide. The film's influence is subtle, resonating in modern blockbusters that explore similar conflicts between agency innovation and risk. The story centers on Harry Benson, a man undergoing experimental neural surgery to control violent seizures. What begins as a medical intervention evolves into a struggle with unpredictable consequences, forcing both the patient and practitioners to confront the limits of human understanding. The narrative emphasizes character tension, moral ambiguity, and psychological suspense, highlighting the fragile balance between scientific curiosity and human vulnerability, without relying on explicit spectacle. At its heart, The Terminal Man examines autonomy, ethical responsibility, and the unintended outcomes of technological intervention. The interplay between man and machine reflects broader philosophical concerns about control, free will, and the moral cost of experimentation. Its depiction of neural manipulation as a narrative device informed subsequent films that combine scientific speculation with suspenseful action. By focusing on character-driven tension and concise, deliberate pacing, the film demonstrates how speculative concepts can shape both narrative and thematic depth, emphasizing human fragility amidst technological ambition. Ultimately, The Terminal Man endures as a meditation on the delicate balance between innovation and ethical responsibility. Its resonance lies in demonstrating how early sci-fi used cognitive intervention to explore human limits and moral complexity. 15. Westworld, 1973. Westworld unfolds within a meticulously constructed amusement park where androids enact human fantasies. Yet beneath the spectacle lies a meditation on control, autonomy, and the fragility of human certainty. The film quietly shaped the way AI could be portrayed as both servant and unpredictable agent, offering a blueprint for future blockbusters that would explore the tension between human ambition and technological capability. Its presence in this countdown is not a measure of fame, but of the enduring resonance of its conceptual daring. Within the park, guests interact with lifelike robots designed to fulfill their desires, unaware of the latent dangers within the system. When safety protocols fail, the android's programmed obedience transforms into chaos, compelling humans to confront their vulnerability. The narrative emphasizes character responses, ethical dilemmas, and the unfolding tension without relying on over-the-top spectacle, creating an immersive experience that conveys both threat and philosophical inquiry. At its core, Westworld examines the interplay between human desire, technological sophistication, and the unintended consequences of control. The androids' embodiments of advanced AI challenge assumptions about predictability, autonomy, and morality. By presenting mechanical intelligence as both object of fascination and latent peril, the film influenced the aesthetic and thematic vocabulary of later action-driven sci-fi. Its narrative balance, melding suspense, ethical tension, and conceptual depth, illustrates how speculative technology can shape plot, character, and thematic resonance. The park's microcosm mirrors broader anxieties about humanity's reliance on systems beyond comprehension, echoing through decades of sci-fi storytelling. Ultimately, Westworld leaves a lingering contemplation of human ambition and artificial agency. Its legacy is felt not in spectacle alone, but in the enduring conceptual framework it offers for exploring autonomy, vulnerability, and the intricate dance between humans and their creations. As we reach the conclusion of this cinematic journey, The films explored reveal the subtle yet profound ways imagination shapes our understanding of technology power and human ambition. Each story acts as a fragment of a larger conversation about our hopes, fears, and the boundaries of agency in a world increasingly intertwined with innovation. These works, though not always celebrated, echo through the narratives of modern blockbusters, leaving traces of thought tension and ethical reflection that continue to inform what we watch today. What can we learn from these overlooked pioneers? How do their visions of artificial intelligence, immersive technology, and extraordinary human abilities continue to resonate with contemporary storytelling? As we consider their enduring influence, we are reminded that cinema is not only entertainment, but a mirror reflecting the challenges and possibilities of our own world. The echoes of these films invite viewers to reflect on our relationship with technology, our ethical responsibilities, and the timeless question of how human ingenuity shapes the future.